Hello, everybody. My name is AJ, and I have a YouTube channel. Hello, you're on it, and possibly. And I am joined together again today by the DM's Roundtable, and we are answering lots of obscure questions one by one that we've posed to each other. Today, we're going to be answering Wally's question that he posed to us all. And joining me today, to my side somewhere, is Josiah. Hello, Josiah. How's it going?
It's going. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? I guess you want me to talk about my channel. It exists.
Traditionally, this is what we do.
Yeah. Can I give you the link to my .pixo account or whatever? I have a YouTube channel, Dungeon Dad. It's a D&D YouTube channel. All kinds of cool stuff about monsters there. And if you wanted to see a bunch of adults drinking and playing in a game that is basically Toy Story, but it's like Toy Story as done by Robot Chicken, as played by like a bunch of clowns. They're a bunch of clowns. Anyway, yeah, check it out. Or don't. I'm not your dad.
It was so forceful. Check it out.
Check it out.
I'll go right now, Dungeon Dad. I'm sorry.
I'm also joined by Jordan. Hello, Jordan.
Hello, my name is Jordan with SilentPH, and I have a YouTube channel about Dungeons & Dragons lore. So it's there. You can search for my name, and you'll find it. That's
and Wally. Yeah. And Wally. Hello, Wally.
Hello. I am Wally, also known as wallyDM. I am also on YouTube. I don't know what the Pixo thing was that Josiah mentioned, but anyway, I'm on YouTube, and I have a channel about running puzzles and traps in your D&D or Pathfinder game.
Awesome. Okay, so today's question is, and I'll pose this to Josiah first. What is a lesser known or obscure monster or race to use in a level 1 to 3 campaign? So this would be the start of your long-running campaign, or even if you're just running a campaign that's only intended for 1 to 3 levels.
Yeah. I picked 2 in case one got stolen, but I'm going first, so this is great. My answer is the forlarren. Did I steal yours?
No, I know this one.
Yeah, forlarren are awesome. Forlarren they're creatures that are half fae and half devil in terms of lineage. So they're often pretty uncommon in that, you know, how often does like some type of fae lord get together with like an archfiend? Like, it doesn't happen too often, but you know, there can be like a Romeo Juliet style romance between these two powerful entities from a different culture, and sometimes if they have children, the resulting offspring is a forlarren, and they are super cool. There's tons of RP opportunities there, both like as a player race, but even just as like a race that exists in your world to kind of replace like the orcs or goblins or whatever. If you're
also weird looking little creatures.
They're super weird looking. They have like all the worst parts of fae and the worst parts of devils. There's a lot of really cool artwork out there, and you can kind of interpret that however you want, because each one is kind of different in its own way, right? So you might have one that appears as kind of like this beautiful sort of alien like fae creature that has like big horns and like the fiendish like sharp teeth or whatever. Like, you could get creative with it, which is always fun. And their whole deal is that they're very much torn between two, like, fundamentally, cosmically different peoples. So as they grow up, they kind of are almost possessed by one side or the other. Like, they, on occasion, will show extreme cruelty to other creatures, only to immediately, like, regret it and, like, break down into tears. Like, it can be very intense, and usually one side wins out or neither does, and they just go like completely mad. But that could be a really fun type of character to play, like these kind of like 1 minute
the tortured villain. Yeah,
exactly, right? If you want to set that up as like the big bad of a campaign, to have exactly that, like a tortured villain who is empathetic in a lot of ways, because you're like, it's not your fault that you are this way, like, you know, and who knows, like, where they end up landing at the end of the story. And even just to use, like, I've used them in like little communes of forlarren that like don't really have another place to go, so the party comes across them and they're just like, yo, what's up, like, we live here, we just like I have a farm, I got like a brother, he lives over there, we hang out, like, I don't know, what do you want from me, like, you can use them as nonchalant or as like over the top extra melodramatic as you want, which I'm always a big fan of creatures that give you a lot of leeway with that. But yeah, if that sounds even like a little bit interesting to you, look them up, because there's a ton of lore about them and there's a lot of ways you can employ a creature like that.
I immediately want to make a video about them.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
They're so fun.
Jordan, what have you got for us?
This was tough for me, but I really like oozes, and I feel like there's not a lot of like, well, there are some interesting oozes and stuff out there, but I've pretty much used them all. So I was looking through Fiendfolio and some older stuff, and I found the protean polymorph, which is an amorphous creature that can shape change into it's kind of like a combination of Odo from Deep Space Nine and the Blob, where it like it encompasses things and it eats them, but it also can like shape change into different monsters. And so it's found in the jungles, and you might be like, oh, it's a giant scorpion, and then as you like slash into it, it like starts trying to eat your blade with its body or something.
Cool.
And I just think they're cool. They kind of remind me of living spells from Eberron, which is, you know, like fireball. And what would fireball look like if it was just this living creature that could go around and attack you? And I think there's another living spell in Icewind Dale. So
Yeah.
And so this always, I was going to use this eventually as a living polymorph spell. And so that's, I think, a good basis for like what it would look like. And you're just like, oh, and so, because it has to be offensive. But I didn't like the idea of a living polymorph spell changing other people. I liked the idea that maybe it consumed you and became you for a little bit or something, kind of like a changeling, but more aggressive and quick. So
that's really cool.
Nice.
That is cool.
And Wally, what have you got for us?
Well, I had to do a little bit of research, even though this was my question. And so I watched a YouTube channel, I think it was by AJ Pickett, and he talked about zvarts. Now, zvarts are these little blue humanoids that are kind of the scum of the earth type creatures. They are, they're actually spawned off by a demigod by the name of Raxivort. And so I always thought, if I were to start a campaign at level 1, how much fun it would be, rather than go with goblins or orcs or kobolds or something, but to go with zvarts. And they also have a lot of rats and things of that nature, so they would have like rats as pets and stuff like that. And they actually covet like treasure, and some of their other things that they do is they're always trying to please their demigod Raxivort, so they'll make sacrifices. So maybe they're coming into town and they're trying to steal like a cat from someone, or maybe even children or townsfolk or something like that, and they're like trying to take all these different animals or people back to where they are, and doing these rituals and doing these sacrifices, trying to please their god Raxivort. It doesn't work, so they come back into town and they try to do it again. And I kind of see them more as these. The description of them is these 3-foot tall blue humanoids, bald heads with black hair on the side. But I kind of see them like a D&D evil Smurf, and I would have them like there would be like Vanity Smurf, or Vanity Zvart, that would have like a full head of hair. And all the other Zvarts are like jealous of him because he's always got the mirror on and he's combing this flush, head of hair. You'd have like Greedy Zvart, you'd have Papa Zvart, you'd have
Zvart. That's the one where I'm like, what?
but
we best go talk to Papa Zvart.
but just have
bashful Zvart. You're so terrible.
Zvart that, all of that.
Well,
So-
we've got to have some sort of a Gargamel who's trying to capture and
yeah.
eat zvarts. That's kind of terrifying. Maybe it can be an Oni ogre mage.
Exactly. So I these are creatures that originated. I think it might be in the Fiend Folio Monster Manual 2 AD&D. I'm going to go with
Fiend Folio, man.
Yeah, that's going to be my final answer. And then they're reprinted in Volo's Guide to Everything, where they give like a full lore for those. So you can check those out there. But I would probably recommend AJ's video where he talks about Zvarts in particular. But I just think they'd be a lot of fun, and I would probably run them more like a humorous humanoid race.
Nice. Along a similar sort of vein, because the Zvarts like to hang out in sewers and things like that, and their god is hanging out in Pandemonium, which is another video I just recently did. As I was talking about were rats before, Zvarts have a lot to do with were rats, but lycanthropy in general in your campaign, especially early campaigns, and when you're keeping it like you're giving hints of what's going on, but it's like a disease that can be very, very subtle and sneaky. One example of a way that DM, who's a friend of mine from way back, who's more along the lines of I'm going to psychologically torment my players. I don't recommend this, but he's synonymous for it. He had a cleric who was bitten by a werewolf in a fight, thought nothing of it, healed the damage. No sign of any sort of problem other than that, but he was infected by lycanthropy, and with the cycle of the full moon, it was getting closer and closer to where he was going to transform against his will into this ravening beast. And his god basically excommunicated that character, cut off all abilities, and stopped talking to him because he was now a monster. Although he hadn't changed at all, and his attitude was completely right, and he was like doing all these trying to do it like a quest to prove his piety to his deity, and very, very frustrated. But every single time he got anywhere close to it, here's the DM saying, "There's some sort of taint, and your character's his soul is marked, smeared with something." And he could not figure it out, and it drove him to near tears. But I don't recommend doing that. It's a horrible thing to do. It's a horrible thing to do. So it took away all of the agency of his character and made him feel very, very frustrated. So he was just trying to do what his character was supposed to do. And other than that, he had his all his cool powers taken away, and it sucked. And this went on for weeks. So yeah, don't do that.
The best part about lycanthropy is once your players like in character figure out what's going on and they figure out how to solve it, especially in a campaign like Strahd, because then it just becomes an inconvenience.
Yeah, like, I mean, written into the monster manual is the abilities that you gain as a lycanthrope. So it's designed to be included as an option for a player character. That it's something that can happen to them. So
we once had a paladin who was so determined not to contract lycanthropy in a Curse of Strahd campaign, and of course she was a frontliner, so she kept getting bitten. And whenever she made this like con save and always failed it, the joke just became like, "You cough." Like every time she would get bitten, she'd be like, "Yeah, you have a big cough," and she'd be like, "Okay, like get the restoration ready after this fight." Like we all know
every morning she's out there going,
"Yeah,
is there extra hair anywhere on me?" Yeah, like the some of the lycanthropes are bloodthirsty, horrible monsters. Like werewolves are some of the worst, and they're certainly terrible. Were rats, which I use quite often in my low-level campaigns, going back to the original question, can be extremely sneaky and manipulative. And I've mentioned this before in one of our roundtables, where all it was the were rats would leave a gold coin, on a sewer grate in this town. And they had a note attached to it, and it was generally intended for they were watching the goings on and the routines of the townsfolk up above, who had no idea that the sewers were infested with were rats. Other than that, the were rats kept every other monster out of the sewers, so it was kind of convenient in a way. No more otyus coming up and snatching pets and things. I think coyotes are bad. Anyway, so the gold coin had a note attached to it, which was essentially, do this, and the gold coins will keep on coming. And then so these people start to rely on this extra little bit of income, which is fairly significant. Somebody is actually stealing a cache of gold coins in order to keep secrets that these people under the sewers know about them from getting into the wrong hands which are picking up notes with gold coins attached to them. So they have all sorts of manipulation and stuff going on. the town guard have no idea what the motivation behind all these crimes are. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. This Machiavellian plot that these were-rats are inflicting on this township, and they just completely snare it up. So all of the authorities that could possibly investigate or pay somebody to go down to the sewers are just like at each other's throats. It's perfect. Yeah. So the players are outside of this network of graft going on, and they may uncover the entire thing, or possibly just observe this person picking up a coin very surreptitiously and reading a note and going, you know, what is that? What's going on? So yeah, we're rats.
I love that. I love that, especially because once the players figure out that lycanthropy is at play, they're going to be like, oh shit, like werewolves, this is going to be, and then the were-rats are just like, man. Like,
yeah, and of course you have to have the hedge wizard in town who's got all these remedies against lycanthropy. You know, oh, this soap with belladonna root in it. This will just put that all over you, and they won't touch you. They won't bite you. You know, you'll be immune. You know.
Very cool.